2025 hotspots, predictions, opportunities. You'll see lots and lots of videos about where to buy, what are the hotspots, what to avoid, but let's actually discuss opportunities instead of a particular area. Because when you watch this video, whether it is this week, we're in January, or whether you're going to see it in March, the thing is, if you just talked about particular areas, those areas might be gone by then. But if you look at opportunities, you can always go in depth in the research of those opportunities to actually still find the best buys. So this video becomes evergreen throughout 2025. And I'm going to give you 3 major opportunities going to come up in the commercial property space in 2025 that you need to do further research, look into, and buy and invest your money in there so that you can actually get anywhere from 20 to 40% returns in the next 12 to 24 months. Now, where the interest rate is at the moment, it's going to come down the next 12 months, but we don't know exactly whether it's going to be February or whether it's going to be May. But sometime in the first 6 months, I believe we will have our first rate cut, followed by another one, the second half of the year, potentially a third one before we close out the year, which means this is great buying opportunity if you buy right. Because if you take on a little bit of risk and you're buying at the right time, it means that it actually compounds itself and you do a little bit of tweaking in the next 12 months. As the market confidence comes back, it actually increases the value, and also at the same time you get your cash flow as well. So more money in your pocket in both cash flow and growth, allowing you to grow your portfolio exponentially. And that's what this video is about. So let's get started. My name is Helen Tarrant. I help everyday Australians become wealthy through investing in commercial property. Now, that's slightly different from residential property, but exactly is still the properties. Not residential versus commercial. Commercial is actually the other side of the coin for residential. If you are in the space where you have invested in residential, but residential hasn't given you the cash flow you wanted, you feel stretched, it hasn't really delivered the growth you wanted, then commercial property, it actually may be the best way to move forward, because commercial property gives you a way forward. The property is cash flow neutral and positive, which means it supports itself with no servicing from you. Plus, on top of that, it gives you cash flow once the interest rate comes down, and it has that growth. So you continue to grow your portfolio without being totally dependent on you, which is why commercial property has come out in front as actually the best investment in this current market, especially in 2025, when we have an aging population and people are looking for security. So let's explore the 3 major opportunities 2025, how you can profit from them. Number 1 is city fringe and urban fringes. So when I talk about city fringe, we're looking at Melbourne fringe, Sydney fringe, Brisbane. We're looking at the major cities, right? If you want to go to Perth, that is fine. If you want to go to Darwin, that is fine. You want to go to, well, maybe in Tassie and Adelaide, maybe a little bit less fringe, maybe more around the city or the city areas just outside. But however, what's so important about these city fringes is the urban sprawl, right? What we've seen between COVID and now is that people have actually decided they don't want to live in the city. They don't want the clusters. They're pushing out. So one of the things about being pushing out is that we have found that areas like Maitland, areas like a Toowoomba or an Ipswich, areas just like the peninsula in Melbourne have actually boomed because the population has pushed out. And as a result of that population push out, it means that you now have more and more demand for commercial properties, more demand for services, more demand for professional, more demand for trades. All of these people are moving out of the city, and they're no longer going back to the city, traveling an hour or 2 hours into the city to actually try and access the services. They're trying to access the service locally, and that puts demand because the services locally aren't able to cope with it, and it means it's absorbing the vacancies because these people are bringing their own trades and setting up their own businesses, and that's creating that boom, right? And it's creating an increase in the rents and creating the increase in the value of those areas. So city fringes, urban fringes, these are the areas, maybe an hour out of the city, an hour and a half out, is going to set to boom in the next 2 to 3 years, even more than what it has now. It's had a lot of activity in the last few years, but in the next 1 to 2 years, it's going to have even more. But you have to be a little bit patient, because you might buy in and it might not have the right returns right now. It might not have seen the capital growth that you wanted to see, but you need to wait out the next 2 years and slowly tweak that property to be able to make sure it delivers, right? But in the meantime, it's still going to give you stability. It's going to be a great value buy versus the city. You're going to buy way more with your money in the fringe and the outskirt areas than you are going to be able to buy in the cities. So that is definitely value for money. Plus, you can snap a really great buy that you can get your cash flow and the interest comes down, and you'll get your back end growth as well. So that's the number one opportunity that you should be looking for in 2025 in terms of commercial properties out in those areas. Number two is opposite the market. Now that's contrarian thinking. Most people don't, that's a big word, contrarian. Contrarian thinking is about going against the market. So going against what the market is doing. Now, a lot of markets have been investing in Perth in the last 2 years. I know that's shifting. Some people are going to Darwin, some people are going to Tassie, a lot of people are going to Adelaide, right? Still a lot of people are sticking to your Brisbane areas because they believe the Olympics is going to make a boom. Now, where are these people not investing in? Is it in regional New South Wales, regional Victoria, maybe Melbourne because they've had such a big hit with all of the different taxes, maybe ACT because it's not freehold. Where areas are people not investing in? That is what you need to target. This is one of the things that Unicorn Commercial Property does really, really well. We look at markers, right? This is why we're different from anything else. We don't just take your orders and say, hey, you got $1 million, buy a $3 million property, here you go, where you go. No. We look at markers in the market, right? So markers are changing things that affect the value and the population boom in that area and affects the confidence in that area. And we look at key investment areas where we know that traditionally that area has been a really great area. It's always delivered good foot traffic or good inquiries, good professional tenants, but it had been hit because of unforeseen events, maybe because of taxes in Melbourne, maybe because of COVID, maybe because of, at the moment, the logistics, the government hasn't got it right, maybe because the last 10 years ago we had a flood and now it's been sorted, whatever it was, that we're looking at these markers because traditionally the foundations of investment still applies. And that's what you need to look at, is because the investment strategy is the most important in something like finding a property that is opposite to what the market wants right now, because you have to be able to predict in the next 2 years or 3 years that is going to grow, right? And the way to do that is to look historically. What was this property doing 3, 4, 5 years ago? What's this area doing 3, 4, 5 years ago that is different from what it is behaving now? And the markers change. So, for example, have there been a big house and land release? Has there been a lot of warehouse developments? Have there been a changes in zoning or about to because there's a hospital or a shopping center being built or the schools coming in? Whatever it is it changing and tweaking? And is that going to trigger an effect in the next 2 years? I know this is all hypothetical, but this is what Unicorn Commercial Property, what Helen Tarrant is famous for. What we do is to look at what the market is not doing, put our clients into those properties so that in the next 2 years, you're experiencing just literally exponential growth, and you're realizing that when you're tweaking rents, it's going to grow as well, right? So if that's what you are actually looking for, you need someone to mentor you and guide you through it and give you a bit of a strategy, and you need to book in for that free strategy session. So that link is below for you to book in for that free strategy session. That strategy session with our expert team can lead you to showing you what that strategy works, how that strategy works, and how that can be implemented in your portfolio to help you scale, because we're not looking for clients that are transactional. We're looking for people who want to work with us to build a long-term sustainable portfolio, give them cash flow growth and uplift, right? But the contrarian thinking is about finding what the market is not investing. So think about this as an opportunity. This opportunity applies. It doesn't matter if it's in 2025, 2026, 2030, it will still apply, because I've always made my money on going against the market. So when the market was investing in Perth, I wasn't. I was in Adelaide, right? When the market weren't even looking at Maitland, we were in Maitland already investing, right? And you might not go, where the hell is Maitland? But it had the biggest population growth in around Australia during COVID, right? But we were looking at markets when the hospitals approved, when the new shopping centres were, and what are the key areas that's developing in that area. We were in the Sunshine Coast before it became boom, because these are the things that gave our clients 60-80% value uplift in 3 to 5 years, because we're going against the market. And you need to think about what the market's not investing. So all of this thing about, Perth is booming, Adelaide's booming, Tassie's the next one, or Darwin. you need to not pay attention to that, not follow the trends, go opposite. Why are they not investing in, right? Have a think about that, deep dive into that if you need help looking for that strategy stage. So that's really, really important. Have a think, dissect, look at where, and you can then start to compare. So let's say we compare something ACT or Melbourne or parts of Adelaide, and we compare it to where what somewhere in Brisbane is doing, then you can see the startling difference, and that helps you to go, okay, maybe I should invest in those areas versus where everybody else is investing in, right? So that's number 2. And number 3, finally, it's about investing in properties that are undervalued. So uplifts, commercial property uplifts, I believe is going to be the greatest hidden gem that's upcoming in the next couple of years, especially 2025, because I'm going to see a lot of leases expiring and renewing in 2025 because people have gone through COVID. During those COVID times, people typically took a very short lease of 2 to 3 years. It would have expired at the end of 2024. People aren't sure what they're doing in 2025. With the interest rate coming down, people are going to be more confident. They're going to want to negotiate leases, but sometimes owners can't see that far ahead. They want to sell, they're trigger happy, or potentially they've had some real hardships with properties where they just haven't got it right? Couldn't get the tenant up in rent, couldn't work out what was going on in getting new leases or changing tenants. They just want that headache gone. And because they just want that headache gone, this is a prime opportunity for you to swoop in and take care of that property, take care of that headache, buy it undervalued in the market, change around the leases, maybe change around the tenant, maybe do a slight refurbishment, and then put a new tenant in there and create your uplift. You could get as much as 40 to 60% return on your investment. That means the money you put in, right? Obviously going to get a loan, but the money you put in, you could get like really 40% or 60% return on investment. It will be a 12 to 18 months, sometimes 2-year process because, renegotiating leases, changing out the tenant, refurbishment isn't easy, but you do need a professional team to help you. And here at Unicorn Commercial Property is one of the things I do day in, day out, help people through that strategy, help them implement that. And we do that with a group of our clients who have done it. And typically people implement this as second or third strategy, right? It is a bit risky. And you will need to have it in your mindset when you're doing uplift that you need to have a holding income of 6 to 12 months for that property so you can really give it the best uplift you can to get that ultimate value. You refinance and you pull all your money back out again, right? And that's absolutely doable. So when you're looking at uplift, what you're looking at is leases that are short and expiring. So there's a risk element. You have to be able to tolerate those risks, right? There's a lease that is about to expire but the tenant is stable and the bare foundations of the property is stable. And this is why commercial property education becomes so important. Without understanding the education, the fundamentals of a commercial property, and most people go, I don't need education, I've invested in property for a long time. Commercial is the opposite to residential, right? If you think you've got your residential down pat, you need to unlearn half of those things to actually do commercial, right? So here, when you're doing commercial property uplift, you need to learn the fundamentals of the uplifts and what is an uplift, what isn't. Having a coffee cart in a shopping precinct or you have 3 or 4 shops isn't an uplift. An uplift is when the tenant is underpaying, right? But the fundamentals are really, really good. So you can kick out that tenant, put a new tenant in there, or do a refurbishment, get a second mezzanine floor build, or do an extension to the property and have more rent coming in through the door. That's what you need to do, right? And that's ultimately what the uplift is about, right? So you need to look for those things. Look for leases that's expiring. Look that the property is versatile, that it can go from the current tenant to 5 different other type of tenants, and that it might be old, rundown, might need a new air conditioning, might need new flooring, might need some sprucing up, painting at the front to make it beautiful, right? It might need a different fit out, right? So you can entice the right type of tenant. Maybe it's missing an essential service in the area, and that you can implement that into that. So it could be a lot of them, could be the wrong tenant, but it might need allied health or medical in that area, or it might need a childcare, or it might need the childcare center might need to be refurbished, whatever it is, right? You need to look for that. Like the lease is expiring, but you need to then be able to approach the tenant and you need to define that the market is much higher. So maybe they're renting at $200 a square meter, but the market's $300 or $350. That works. That gives you enough gap for you to go and put the money in so that when you get the return at $300 $350 a square meter, that you're making that margin, right? And ultimately, that is what uplift is all about, but that is going to be the greatest opportunity out there. And that is a little bit more complicated. So again, if you need help for that, and that's what exactly you're looking for, click the link below and book in for that free strategy session with our team. We can then show you how that strategy can really help you accelerate your portfolio. So here's our 3 top tips. Don't forget, right? We're going to invest in Sydney fringes and urban fringes and areas that's on the outskirts of a major city because of the urban sprawl. We're going to look at properties that are against the market. So we're going to go to areas where it's opposite to where the market is booming and growing, and looking at what the market's not looking at and looking at the fundamentals of those areas and investing in those areas. Number 3, we're going to look at opportunities for undervalued properties to create the uplift. So under short leases, low rents, rundown properties in areas of demand, right, where we can swap out tenants and do the uplift, right? So those 3 major opportunities in 2025 will set you up for the rest of your portfolio. That property will continue to deliver, and you can continue to draw against the equity as it grows. All of those 3 opportunities, doesn't matter if you invest in 2025 or 2030, it's still going to deliver the results you want to grow your portfolio. My name is Helen Tarrant, and I help everyday Australians become wealthy through commercial property investment, and I can do that for you too, give you cash flow, growth, and uplift in your portfolio. If you're interested in that, click the link below, book in for that free strategy session, and let us grow wealth together.